This video is brought to you by Squarespace. If you need a website or domain, go to squarespace.com/Simon. Hey everyone, and welcome to a new video. I recently posted a photo on social media explaining that the photo was actually one frame taken from some video I had shot. People had questions of how this is done, and is it always practical to do so? So in this video, I'll show you how to take a photo frame from video, show you different methods, compare different techniques for photo quality, and give you some tips on how to shoot video so that it's a good candidate for photographs. My name is Simon d'Entremont and I'm a professional nature and wildlife photographer living in Eastern Canada. I make weekly videos giving you photo tips or taking you behind the scenes for nature photography. Subscribe if you want to see more. So how does grabbing photos from video work anyway? This whole thing works on the basis that video is actually just a series of photos stitched together. A lot of what you watch online or in movies is 24 or 30 frames per second played in quick succession, just like a flip book. Each frame looks like this as I move forward one frame at a time. So we grab one of these frames individually and use it as a photo. Hence the name, frame grabbing. Now in the field, I usually take photos for a while, then switch to video for a bit. And it's hard to do both well. Sometimes when I'd like a photo, I'm shooting video, and sometimes when I'd like to have some video, I'm shooting photos. Confucius once said, "He who chases two rabbits catches neither." I know what he meant, but what if we could have our cake and eat it too? I'm using this footage of a grizzly bear walking on the beach in British Columbia, Canada, shot in 4K. That's 3840 by 2160 using my Canon R5. This was in slow motion at 120 frames per second that slows down to 20% speed when played back at 24 frames per second. The shutter speed was 1/250th of a second for every one of the 120 frames taken every second. When I looked at this video, I thought to myself, oh, I love that moment when she looked up with a blade of grass still in her mouth. That pose would make a great photo. Now let's look at several methods you can use to get individual frames from your video. Later in this video, I'll compare them for image quality. First and lowest hanging fruit for many people is taking a screenshot of your device's screen. If you're on a phone, most phones will take a screen grab with some combination of button presses. Now you have two choices for saving. One is to save to file, which for me created a much larger 3 megabyte file in PNG format. The Save to Photos option creates a much smaller file in JPEG format, and for me this was 330 kilobytes, less than 10% of the size of the PNG file. We'll see later if this makes a difference for image quality. On a PC, you can play your video, stop it where you want, then hit the Print Screen button, sometimes on the upper right-hand side of your keyboard. On a Windows computer, by default, this will save a photo of your screen in the Pictures folder, easily found in the File Explorer icon. Now some observations right off the bat. Taking a screenshot is taking a photo of your screen at the resolution of your device's display. If your screen has a very low resolution of 720 pixels, the original video may be in 4K, but since your screen displays at 720, 720 pixels is what you're going to get, not the original 3840. If your phone display is lower, same result. Note also for best resolution, display your video full screen for a screen grab. That way you're getting the best out of what's available. Okay, let's move on to some more sophisticated methods, and we'll see if they yield better results. The next method is to use apps on your computer to get frame grabs from your video footage. A Windows PC comes standard with an app called Photos, and interestingly enough, it can not only play video, but it can take frames from your video. You play your video, pause it with a press on the keyboard where you want to take a frame, and hit the 3 dots, save a frame. To note, you can use the arrow keys to advance one frame at a time to pick just the one you want. Now a couple of observations here. We're not taking a screenshot here. The software is taking a frame from the original video. This has two big advantages. One, the frame comes out at the resolution of the original video. If it was shot in 4K, the photo comes out at that resolution, 3840 by 2160. Second, the color accuracy of your monitor isn't an issue either. Now, if you're using a Mac computer or don't have the Photos app on your Windows PC, is there another option? Yes, there is. There's a video player called VLC that's very popular, and it's a free download for both Windows PCs and Mac. Using the VLC media player, play the video until you get to the frame you want, Hit the spacebar to stop it, then hit Video, Take Snapshot. The default is to save it in the Pictures folder on a Windows PC. Okay, let's look at two more options to make sure we have it all covered before our image quality comparison. First, some photo and video editing software may help you get frames from your video. Even though Lightroom Classic, which I use, doesn't edit videos, it will grab a frame for you. Import your video into Lightroom, and while in the Library module, hit Play, then the spacebar to stop it, then right-click on this little box and select Capture Frame. The photo will show up in your film strip along with the other photos and videos stored at the same location in your catalog. And finally, one more option. Some cameras, like my Canon R5, will have frame grabbing in camera as an option. If you have a 4K or 8K video, when playing it back, stop at the frame you want and click on this icon. It will say Save as a New Still Image and hit OK. This saves the image as a JPEG, this time in 2.5 megabyte size. And the dimensions are in 4K, 3840 by 2116. And now a shout out to the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. If you haven't heard of them, they're an all-in-one website platform that helps you create your website from scratch, just like I did. You don't need coding experience or even to be tech savvy. They have lots of templates to choose from to make it easy to get your own website up and running in no time. Now, even though they do have great templates, like ones for photography, for example, the place to go now is to use their new Design Intelligence feature, using both Squarespace's experience and cutting-edge AI, helping you to tailor your own website to your own specific needs. It can even help you write text to describe your business or with search engine optimization. It looks really professional to have online galleries and your own domain, and a website is also a great way to monetize your work by setting up an online store using Squarespace payments. You can set this up with just a few clicks, and you can even do buy now and pay later with options like Afterpay. Go to squarespace.com to sign up for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Simon for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Okay, now let's compare the image quality of these frames. First, let's look at resolution. When comparing image quality, it's great to have a reference frame against which to compare things. So I'm going to use an actual photo that I took just a few seconds later after the video. And I have a raw photo here. And what I did, this raw photo, which was shot at 8192 by 5464, that's the dimensions of my 45 megapixel Canon R5. And what I did here, I converted it to a JPEG, changed the white balance to match a little bit more what the video looked like, just a bit of noise reduction to make it in line with what the other photos are looking like in JPEG format. Okay, let's compare my reference photo to the first one of my frame grabs, which was from the phone. This is on a phone, and what I'm going to do, when I zoom in to 100%, they zoom in different amounts. So I need to basically make them the same field of view to make them comparable. And let's try something like this. And as you can see, the original photo is much more detailed when zoomed in than the phone grab. So I'd say this phone grab photo does not have a lot of detail. When zoomed out, it looks not too bad, but when you zoom in, you notice there's not a lot of detail. Now let's move on to the phone grab, where I use the Save to File option as a PNG rather than a JPEG to save it as a photo. And if I go back and forth between these two on the right hand side, basically I can't see any difference. So it looks like saving to photos versus saving to file on your phone doesn't make much of a difference. Let's look at the other options. This next option is the screenshot on a Windows PC. And my Windows PC has a screen resolution of 2559 by 1439. So that is the resolution at which the photo was taken. As you can see, a fair bit more detail than the phone grabs, but a lot less still than the original photo that has, of course, much higher resolution. Now the next option here is using the Photos app on my Windows PC, which you'll see takes a frame grab at the native resolution of the video, which was 4K, 3840 by 2160 in this particular case. And you can see that the quality has improved somewhat, not as detailed yet as my reference photo, which was an actual photo, but you can see that you're getting a little bit better using software to grab frames rather than just screenshots. Now this is the VLC option, where I use the VLC player. And the resolution, if I compare it to my Photos app, is about the same, but you'll see the darks got really dark. It really did change the look of the photo, especially in the dark areas, quite a bit here. But the resolution looks about the same because it did the same thing. It took the frame grab in 4K at 3840 by 2160. Now let's move on to a Lightroom frame grab, which looks, I think, a little bit better than the VLC player or the Photos app on my Windows PC. Finally, the in-camera frame grab, which also looks better than using the Photos app or the VLC player to grab a frame, but looks from a resolution perspective pretty close to a Lightroom frame grab. They both grabbed a frame in the original resolution of 3840 by 2160. So my observations from a resolution perspective are that the Lightroom frame grab and the in-camera frame grab on my Canon R5 gave us the best resolution, but we're still short of the original photo resolution, which of course has a much higher resolution at 45 megapixels, where these frame grabs are closer to 8 megapixels. Now that was a quick look at resolution. Let's look at image quality now. There's a bunch of different tests I could run about dynamic range and so on, but I think just raising the shadows and see how well the shadows stand up to having them raised is probably one of the easiest and best tests to figure out how well the files will stand up to processing and being stretched a little bit if the exposures weren't just right. Let's start off with a phone grab from the photo. If I raise the shadows here, you'll see they break down pretty quickly here. We don't have any detail at all here, and they don't really hold up very well. Now the next one is a phone grab but saved to files rather than saved to photo, and it basically looks the same. I don't think there's a lot of difference between the PNG version, which was almost 10 times the file size, and the JPEG version. I don't think there's a lot of difference between the two. Now this is the version on my Windows PC. If I raise the shadows here, there's a little bit of detail here left, so I think it's doing a little bit better than my phone grabs. Now here we're using the frame grab from the Photos app on my PC, and if I raise the shadows, it's about doing the same, maybe a little bit better than the screen grab. We're getting a little bit more resolution out of the frame grab using an app than we did out of the screenshot on my Windows-based PC. This is using a VLC player, and right off the bat I'm noticing a big problem where we have crushed the blacks to the point that there's no information left. So I raise the shadows here, and still raising the shadows, there's nothing there. So I would say the VLC app probably the worst performing actually in terms of image quality, even though it has a resolution advantage over maybe what the phones did. But in terms of image quality, I would say this one rates very poorly. That's the VLC app. Now the Lightroom frame grab here, if I'm raising this, the shadows here, there's some detail there, not amazing, but of course we're really pushing the limits on this file. There's a little bit of detail there, but not an amazing amount. And finally here is the Canon R5 in-camera frame grab. And when I raise it here, we see some amount of detail, very similar to Lightroom. If I go back and forth between the Lightroom frame grab and the R5, I would say those two are about the best. If I go backwards, the VLC was really bad, and the Photos app didn't do too bad a job, but right here I would say the Lightroom frame grab and the in-camera frame grab are about the same. And in my experience, I'd say those two are the best two techniques for doing this. Another piece of advice for using frame grabs as photos is basically you're not going to have as much resolution as a photo most of the time, so don't crop in too much. Try to take photos that look good with a wide field of view, maybe environmental photos. Don't overcrop, leave your subject small in the frame, and use the scene and the pixels in the scene to make up the photo more than your subject. That way you don't expose that it's not as sharp as a regular photo. So in this particular case, if I was cropping this photo for processing, I might do something like this, and that way leave the subject small in the frame with a big field of view. You can tell there's an interesting pose, looking up, beautiful forest background that's nice and clean that makes the subject pop. Beautiful lighting on the bear with some lighter parts on the ears, top of the head, top of the back, and it makes the photo look good at this field of view. If I overcrop the photo like this, which I call the mugshot crop, I'm just exposing the lack of detail in the subject. So I would say use wider crops, use the environment in the photo, and make the photo look better by not overcropping it. So my conclusion is that using Lightroom and the in-camera method seems to work best when shot at 4K. Now, is this always going to be the case? Does this mean that every frame grab to make a photo will be good enough to use? Not quite. Here's a couple of observations. First, a frame grab for my 4K video footage is 3840 by 2160. That's 8 megapixels. But my Canon R5 is 45 megapixels, 8192 by 5464. So what's going on here? Well, in this case, I'm shooting video in 4K, not the maximum 8K available on my camera. Why? I like to shoot wildlife in slow motion, and cameras these days aren't often shooting 8K in the highest frame rates for slow motion. Now, if I was shooting video specifically for a frame grab, where I definitely needed both photo and video, I would shoot in 8K and get a 36 megapixel frame grab from it. Here's what that looks like using my Owl Buddy as a model. Here's 8K footage, 7680 by 4320. And an in-camera frame grab from it compared to my photo of my camera's 45 megapixel sensor. Actually, the frame grab looks very good, just about the same, and the image quality looks very good too. That shows that for frame grabs, the resolution seems to be the impediment here, not the quality of the files. And most people don't shoot 8K and are limited by gear to 4K. The 8 megapixel image that 4K video footage gives you just doesn't have the resolution that modern sensors use for photos. Another complication is the following. Video is usually shot at much slower shutter speeds than video, which is often shot at a shutter speed of double the playback frame rate. So 24 frame per second playback might be shot at 1/50th of a second shutter speed. The reality is that a lot of photos nor video frames are sharp at 1/50th of a second. For video, a bit of blur in the frames is normal. It looks good to our eye, but for photos, this will result in blurry images. Now, I was lucky to get away with a decent image of this grizzly bear even if I was on a boat, as I was shooting slow motion at 1/250th second shutter speed, just enough to freeze the slow movement of a walking bear. Now you may be saying, fine, I'll just shoot video at super high frame rates so that any photos taken from that footage are sharp. When you shoot video at shutter speeds that are normal for photography, like 1/1000th of a second, you get a machine gun-like stuttering in your footage that doesn't look very natural at all. So slow shutter speeds are good for videos, where high shutter speeds are good for photography. So yes, you can get decent images from video footage in some conditions. Shooting in very high resolutions and with high shutter speeds, like maybe what is used in slow motion video, will increase the odds that your video footage will be suitable for turning into photos. And I'd like to also point out that I've recently launched my own signature edition photography jacket. I partnered with Hawkland and field tested it in Western Canada, photographing the very grisly footage in this video in weather that changed every hour. That's why a 7-in-1 jacket with 3 separate layers which you can mix and match is great to have. An inner fleece, middle puff jacket, and outer wind and rain shell. A built-in photo bag and a pouch for a lens cloth means it's great for photographers. We're shipping in October, but we're offering €50 off, a free beanie, and free shipping on pre-orders. Check it out in the link below. I hope you can use these tips to get a photo out of your amazing video footage the next time you get one. I know you can do it.